Joining us now on the Megacast is the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, Blake Bonkowski. Blake, thanks for being with us today.
Hello, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on the program. A big designation was achieved by Oakland University recently. For the first time, it's achieved a 5 out of 5 star rating on the Campus Pride Index, which now names this as one of the top LGBTQ friendly campuses in the state of Michigan and beyond. Can you tell us about that designation, what that means for Oakland University, and more importantly, what it means for the LGBTQ community at Oakland University?
Yes, so we're extremely excited. We've been working for over 10 years on improving the campus climate for LGBTQ plus students at Oakland University. And from 2013, we submitted for the first time. We had a 3-star rating. And the star ratings don't really represent specific percentages. They're a culmination of a lot of different factors. There's over 200 questions on the index. And so we do a lot of small things and big things that all add up to this new 5-star rating. So that puts us in competition with only one other school, the University of Michigan, at 5 stars. And for us to be with them at 5 stars as a much smaller campus with much fewer resources is a really huge deal. So some of the things that have contributed to that 5-star rating have been our new LGBTQ plus alumni group, as well as our new preferred pronouns policies. So students can input pronouns in the system that we use for student information. We're working to distribute that information out to relevant places. Students can put a preferred name in the system and have their emails and professor interactions and fellow student interactions be with the name that's authentic to themselves. We do a lot of programming to support the LGBT community. And we have a large and boisterous center, the Gender and Sexuality Center, where students can come, hang out, get resources. And so we're very excited that those last couple of programs, preferred name and alumni group, have put us up to 5 stars. And we're just so excited that we finally reached this after so many years of hard work.
So tell us about Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, Blake. What sort of services does it provide to the LGBTQ community at Oakland University, or other activities, as you mentioned, to provide that safe, welcoming space for them to kind of reset and recuperate on campus?
Yeah, reset and recuperate is a great way to frame that. So we describe a few different tiers of service. One of those is just being a place, as you'd mentioned, where people can come, decompress, be amongst people who have similar identities to them. And for me, as a person who came up as a student in the space before getting to be the coordinator, that was really huge for me. I had never really met other trans people until I came to Oakland, came into the GSC, and there were tons of us. And that was absolutely life-changing for me to have those chosen family relationships while still in school. And friendships and professional contacts that I can take with me the rest of my life. We also can offer specific support to students. So if they are struggling with something on or off campus, family relationships, they're being misgendered, they're being mistreated, we can help them navigate either through university process or with local resources. We also have a peer mentorship program. So our first-year students and transfer students can be matched with a mentor to help guide them through that first year of college. We also are an educational space. So that includes our lending library with over 200 books, plus movies, as well as YouTube playlists that folks can use to help engage in their own learning about themselves, as well as learning about the community. We do trainings for the campus, including our Safe on Campus allyship training, our Serving Up Knowledge sessions, where we dive into more specific topics. So this year, we're talking about trans people in sports as one of those, as an example. And then we also do education for the LGBT community itself. This year, we're focusing on professional development. So how do you talk about your queer activism on your resume? If you've never worn a tie before, how do you tie a tie? Those sorts of things. And then we also do work to celebrate the LGBTQ plus community nationally, locally, with things such as drag show, which we do with our Gender and Sexuality Alliance. We try to bring in speakers and guests and folks that the queer community is really excited to see. So we try to say it's a little bit of everything, something for everyone. If you're part of the community, we're happy to be your home. And if you are not, we're happy to help you learn more.
We're joined by Blake Bonkowski, the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found on Oakland University's website, oakland.edu. That's oakland.edu for more information on the Gender and Sexuality Center, as well as other programs provided at Oakland University. Blake, for you as someone who was a student on campus before the center's work became so involved as it is now, and now as the coordinator of the Gender and Sexuality Center, speak from your experience, but also the experience of current students on why it's so important to have the Gender and Sexuality Center and the services that it provides to college students, especially as you mentioned, those incoming college students, those freshmen and sophomores who are beginning their college experience and maybe for the first time are really independent with their sexuality, with their true self out in the world.
Yes. So research does tell us that 17, 18-ish timeframe is one of the main times people tend to come to realizations about their sexuality or their gender identity. And that is, as you mentioned, often aided by being away from family or away from the high school group that you were with. Sometimes that's because you kind of know, but you're repressing it. And sometimes you just really have no clue. And so coming to college is often a time where people are figuring this out about themselves. It's also a time for people who have already figured out that they're part of the community. Most of the students at Oakland are coming from environments where if they had an LGBT community locally, it was very small. And we're often experiencing a lot of mistreatment. And coming to Oakland University is an opportunity for those students to have a very different experience, to have a primarily positive experience, we hope, as a queer or trans person on our campus, and that we have all of these policies and procedures and the center in place to help protect you and support you when things do happen. And that's just not something that people have grown up having, not even through community LGBT centers. And for me to be able to, as a student, come into this space, learn what the values of the LGBT community were, to learn about chosen family, to learn about LGBT history, and be able to do that in a non-academic context, just amongst friends in a really casual way, was really life-changing for me, and I've been so lucky already to be able to witness that in students. I've watched students come in and pick up something from the library, and they're sunk, and they're there for hours, and they're just, oh my gosh, this is finally speaking to my experience. I had students come in recently because the family member came out, and we were able to help walk them through how they could be a better ally to their family member. And having a room full of diverse LGBTQ plus people who can answer that question from different perspectives was really great. For people who are not part of the LGBTQ plus community, it's a little bit easier to find those friendships, to find professional mentors who are willing to work with you, who understand you. And so at the university level, we're able to take an equity-based approach to be able to say, this shouldn't be a situation where everyone gets the same thing. This should be a situation where everyone gets what they need. And LGBTQ plus students often do need a little bit more support in progressing through school, in navigating those interpersonal relationships, those family relationships, and meeting people who are like them. You know, we don't walk around with, I mean, I literally am today, but usually don't walk around with like pins and stickers that share our identities. And we need a place to know we can come and find each other. So watching the students engage with each other and build relationships has been so wonderful. A lot of activism ends up stemming naturally from those conversations. So we're able to also make change on campus in the local area. But just knowing you're not alone, knowing you're not the only person with a certain identity, for a lot of students, it's really the first time they've had that they weren't, especially for trans and non-binary students, to not be the trans and non-binary student is really transformational.
We're joined by Blake Bonkowski, the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, joining us on the Megacast. More information can be found on the Gender and Sexuality Center at Oakland University on their website, oakland.edu/GSC. That's oakland.edu/GSC. For more information, Oakland University has achieved something that only the University of Michigan otherwise in the state of Michigan has achieved, a 5-star rating on the Campus Pride Index. As a 5-star rating, 5 out of 5 stars. A few years ago, Blake, you mentioned that a few years back, Oakland University's rating was 3 out of 5 stars. What changes have been made in recent years to boost the campus's LGBTQ plus friendly environment and achieve that 5-star rating?
Yeah, so a lot of things. I've mentioned the preferred name policy, preferred pronouns policy. That includes being able to have your preferred name on your ID card. We also have gender inclusive housing options for students. So this is a thing that did not exist when I was a student. The ability to say, and this would have been relevant for me, hey, I identify as a man, I would like to be housed with other men. Or I'm non-binary, I want everyone in my room to affirm that they're comfortable with rooming with a non-binary person. And we can make sure that that happens. Almost all of the floors in our residence halls are co-ed now. So you can't, for me, it was, okay, we can put you in maybe in a room with another trans person, but you're going to be on an all-female floor. And then I'm automatically outed when I hit the elevator button. We don't have that system anymore, which is quite nice. We also have our student group, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, and they are strong and they do a lot of programming and support themselves directly for students, which has been huge for our rating. We also have sexual orientation and gender identity in our non-discrimination policy on campus. So on campus, you cannot be discriminated against for being LGBTQ+. And if you are, that is a direct violation of the rules. We also check a lot of boxes for training our staff across campus with our safe allyship training, so that it's not only the people in the GSC that you encounter who are competent and ready to help you, but that we try to make sure the rest of campus is ready for that as well. It's a lot of small things that add up, and that alumni group and the preferred pronouns policy are really what pushed us over the top in the end, which was a little surprising, but delightful. And what's important too to know is that getting a 5 out of 5 star rating means that you are doing an amazing job. You have lots to offer, that students have at least most of the protections that Campus Pride asks them to have. And it doesn't mean that the work is over. We certainly want to make improvements to that gender neutral housing policy. We certainly want to be doing more programming, especially intersections around race and disability. We want to be training more of the staff and more frequently. So there's still certainly work to be done. It doesn't mean that we've checked every box, but we are doing most of the things that Campus Pride is asking for a campus to do. That programming piece is really huge. We also have our LGBT employee resource group. So we have visibility from staff and faculty who are part of the community, who support us in events as well. And just having that group of safe folks people can come to is helping us on our rating as well.
We're joined by Blake Bonkowski, the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found at oakland.edu/GSC, oakland.edu/GSC. And Blake, as you mentioned, the 5-star rating is great. It means you're doing a great job of creating an inclusive campus for the LGBTQ plus community, but it's not where the work ends. In terms of the university's efforts, what is the state of the relationship between the GSC and the administration in terms of continuing to make those progresses and make those changes that are necessary to create a truly welcoming, inclusive, and friendly environment for all communities?
Yeah, we are currently experiencing a really positive relationship with administration. We are in the process of making some pretty major changes right now that I can't quite talk about, but we've needed a huge amount of support in that, including financial support. And the last I've heard, we have received that. And so we also know that administration is very aware of what this rating means for recruitment to the university and who's choosing to come here. That they understand that we can't say that we're good and then not actually be good. That if we're going to have this ranking and be able to brag about it, we have to be able to back it up. And so, so far in this position, it's been wonderful. We're very excited that everybody is on board and understanding the importance of what we do. And that has certainly been something that has evolved over these last 10 plus years. It's over 15 that we've had the center itself. And it means a lot in terms of what we're able to do. That was a big difference between a 3-star time period and now is just getting a yes when we make an ask. And so we're very hopeful as we continue to make adjustments to our current policies and to add in some of the new programs that we have not hit yet. One of those is we're hoping to bring back our Jumpstart program, where students who are incoming to the university can come in a little bit early, have their kind of their own orientation that's specific to LGBTQ plus students. And so we're hoping to build the library more. We're hoping to make some changes to our physical space to improve it. And so we're very thankful to have the support that we do as we make these big moves in the coming months and years.
Blake, as a former student in that environment, and now as the coordinator of the Gender and Sexuality Center, but more importantly, as someone that is in the LGBTQ plus community, what do these sorts of services and these efforts by the university mean to you?
It shows me that people value us as full human beings. And I did not necessarily always feel that way as a student. As a student, I really felt like a lot of the time I was shouting and fighting to be heard and to be seen. That people just didn't have an awareness of trans people in particular, and that I was often blazing a trail, being the first person that somebody had met. And for that to very much no longer be the case for every person that I've encountered on this campus in recent years, to be familiar with trans and non-binary people, to have some level of understanding of the community, and in particular, to know when they've reached their limit, to know what they don't know, to know when they need to learn more, and to be able to recognize that and speak to that and be honest about that is a really huge change that I've seen. It's really hard when people don't realize what they don't know. And the visibility and just the size of Oakland's LGBT community has grown so much and allowed these folks around campus to learn from experience. Most people at this point have gone through some kind of training. But it's really quite wonderful to see LGBTQ plus students and staff members and have their accomplishments celebrated, to have the unique perspectives that they bring to work all across the university respected and represented, and very much hope to see that continue.
Blake, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.